Today we're talking about, oh, today is day 12 out of 28 days of me going live and on live talking about mental health and mindfulness. So let's chat. Today's topic is how to set boundaries with people you love. Yeah, today's topic is how to set boundaries with people you love. So let's just go back to the previous couple of days and see how we got here today. So this is day 12. Day 10, okay, let's go back to day 9, okay? Day 9, it was how to start loving yourself more. So that was on Monday. Day 10, Tuesday, how to have better friendships. We talked about don't criticize people, show genuine interest in others, have integrity, and have a sense of humor. Day 11, Wednesday, how to forgive. That one got a little deep because we talked about how to differentiate between energy leeches and people who don't maybe like understand or respect your boundaries, and how to forgive people who have hurt us, because it's a really difficult topic to talk about, especially if you still have hurt or trauma from people in your life who you feel like you haven't forgiven. And day 12 is today. And we're going to talk about how to set boundaries. So, almost as always, I have 3 points. Number one, just to go over them really quickly. Number one is be clear and establish good communication. Number two, know that you don't have to be understood, but you do have to be respected. And number three, resentment is a sign that boundaries are missing. So let's expand on all of those. Number one, how to set boundaries. The first one is have clear boundaries. So there's this thing that I often struggle with, and it's called beating around the bush. Hi, DJ PL4CX. How you doing? So yeah, there's something that I struggle with. It's called beating around the bush. And I know that if I am really passionate about what I'm talking about, or I'm very sure of myself, whatever I'm going to say is going to come out maybe like really harsh, or maybe people won't expect it. So sometimes, because I don't know how people are going to respond, when I tell something that's going to be truthful and it might upset a person or hurt their feelings, I beat around the bush. A lot of us do it. A lot of us do it. And I have a difficult time being straightforward sometimes because we try to spare people's feelings. Now, I say sparing people's feelings sometimes comes at a risk of ignoring your own when you talk about setting boundaries, because you want your thoughts and your wishes to be heard. And truthfully, if you're talking to somebody who's understanding, who loves you, and who wants to respect you, they're going to listen and respond accordingly. And so that's the very foundation, is just when you're setting boundaries, be clear with the other person. What do you need out of them? What do you expect and do you not expect to happen in between your friendship, relationship, family member, whoever this is? What are your expectations, and then what are some things that bother you that have happened in the past, and why might you have some apprehensions that maybe if you want to share some reasons why these boundaries are in place, because you want to prevent certain things from happening that you just aren't going to go for. And another thing about, establishing, being clear, is having good communication, which means part of really good communication between two people is active listening. I learned this phrase in my yoga teacher training back in 2022. When someone's talking to you and you hear them, but then maybe you want to cut them off because you also want to say the thing that is in your brain to reply to them, that's not active listening. Because, however, on the opposite side, when someone's talking to you and you listen to every word that they're saying, and then you wait until they're done saying what they're saying, and then you repeat back to them what they said. And it doesn't have to be verbatim, but you show that you understood what they said and you can at least summarize what they said. That's active listening. So I told you what active listening is and what active listening is not. And people who can communicate very, very well have this trait of being able to actively listen. People who do not communicate very well cannot actively communicate. We all know those people who you're in a conversation with, and this is one of my pet peeves too, is like being interrupted. But I know sometimes people like they don't understand, or they don't understand how it feels rude to you, and they also don't understand how it makes you get off of your train of thinking of whatever you're saying, because you're in the middle of a conversation, and then you're saying this and this and that, and then the other person wants to interject their opinion in the middle of the conversation. That's not good communication either, honestly. However, that is how a lot of people communicate. And for me, since we're on the topic of boundaries, I usually communicate to people when I first become friends with them, or when we're first getting to know each other. Hey, this is a boundary I don't want to cross, or this is a guideline that within communication, this is how I feel respected and I feel welcomed in conversation. I want to have a conversation where I talk a little bit and then you listen, and then I'm not going to talk your head off, but then it comes to where the roles are reversed, and then you talk or you can respond and then I listen. You don't have to repeat everything I say back, but if I'm upset, or I have like something really important to say that has really like a lot of depth and it's emotionally driven, then I want to be listened to. And then you can communicate to the other person, hey, this is how I want to be listened to. I don't like to be interrupted. Or maybe if you like that, you can interrupt me sometimes, but I don't want it to happen every time. But my other boundary is when we do talk, and maybe we disagree on some things, and we're going to have a heated discussion. I don't want to have a discussion where we are disagreeing or arguing in public. That could be a boundary that you don't want to cross. Or you could say, etc., etc., etc. Just insert your own boundary in there. But I think part of the clear communication is first knowing what you like, what you want, and then also communicating it to the other person, maybe putting yourselves in their shoes as well, because some people will not be able to understand exactly what your boundaries are if you really are not clear on your own boundaries, and you're also not super precise with your speaking. So let's not beat around the bush. I often beat around the bush, so I'm also talking to myself. Let's not beat around the bush. Let's have communication. Let's practice active listening. And together we can practice emotional intelligence. So that's the first thing. How to set boundaries. Number 2, know that you don't have to be understood, but you do have to be respected. This is like a life principle that I go by. Really, if you are communicating with someone else, in life, there's going to be people that you are close with, that that they have different opinions. You're going to be friends with people that have different opinions, that have different values, that have different viewpoints in their life than you. And it's important when you're having conversations with somebody who has a different core value or belief system or anything than you, that maybe you don't even have to understand why they think the way they think. You don't have to understand why they feel the way they feel, or why their values are that. However, I think it's our duty as a human being to respect it, whatever it is. You don't have to understand it. You really don't, because other people aren't going to understand you and why you do what you do, why you think how you think. But don't you want other people to respect it though, regardless? I was talking to a client of mine at work the other day, and we were talking about how maybe like the Super Bowl halftime show, about how um, Bad Bunny in the Super Bowl halftime show. He did the Super Bowl halftime show in all Spanish, and it was a great performance. We both agreed that it was like a very culturally relevant performance, especially at this time. And yeah, it was a great performance, and there were a lot of people in, comments saying maybe we should have had subtitles because it was in all Spanish. And the client was saying, "Yeah, I agree. We should have had the subtitles in all and not in Spanish, but have English subtitles because, most people speak English in America." And, I said, "Well, I understand. I get it. I get it. I respect it. But I think, this is what I think. I think that actually this shows how much people don't, and it's also the way our system works. We, as Americans, don't grow up learning different languages at once unless you come from an immigrant household and like your parents speak a different language and they teach you at the same time that you're learning, or you just, maybe you have parents from this culture, but maybe you have grown up in an international school or something like that where you learn different languages, but generally that's not the case. And I was like, I actually think, I respect what you said, but I that's not my viewpoint. I don't understand that viewpoint. I do get the English subtitles, but this actually shows how much the the message was given, the message was received, even though I can't speak Spanish. Personally, in high school, I chose to learn French for 3 years. Wow, I don't really know why. I think French sounds better, but I said I think the message was still received whether you speak Spanish or not. Pretty much everybody knew what that message was, and you don't have to speak Spanish to like fully understand it, but it would have been nice still. So even if you see differently than other people, even if you have different core beliefs or values, stronger than that, you can communicate your disagreement with people and then still have respect for their values and opinions on things, but then maybe insert your values and opinions, and I think that's the start to having more peace in just communicating with people in general. What happened to my comment? I don't know. I said, I don't know. I didn't see another comment from you. MC Smith 35 says, that's so true because I just had an interview the other day. This question was asked, would you rather be liked or respected? No one is going to like you, but you should always respect me. Yes, that is so true. And when a lot of people would rather be respected than liked because maybe if those two options are presented as either or, we see them as separate. But a lot of the times in our heads, we think they're the same. At least for a long time, I did. I thought like if people liked me, they would respect me. I mean, people can like you as a person, but the respect is a deeper thing. It's a human thing. It's like I see you, you see me, and on the outside they could like you, but like you ever liked a person, and then got to know them or they got to know you, and then their perception of you from the outside of what they liked was like they liked what's on the outside, but once they knew your inner thoughts or your inner goal values or whatever, they don't respect you. That means they don't like you anymore because something about what your there's something about your values or whatever, your perspective, and they disagree with that, it changed the way they see you, so they no longer like you because they didn't respect you or your values. So honestly, like and respect, they no longer go hand in hand because, you know, if you're not respected, you're not going to be liked anyways. So I definitely get that. I would certainly rather be respected than liked because I think it's a general principle of of communicating with people. You're going to if you're wanting to be in a long-term relationship or be married eventually, you're going to want to see this in the same way because if you're thinking about building a connection with somebody long term that lasts a very long time, there's going to be a lot of things that you don't like about that person. but that doesn't mean that you don't love them and respect them and value them. And the yeah, that's what I'm gonna say about that. So that is so true. You don't have to be understood, but you must require respect if you want to establish those boundaries. So let's go back over the 3 points. The first two that I already mentioned. Number one, be clear and establish good communication. Number two, know that you don't have to be understood, but you must be respected. So require respect. And then number three, resentment for a person is a sign that boundaries are missing. So before I like expound on that one, if you're enjoying this, give it a thumbs up. If you're watching from the replay, thanks for watching it on the replay. Then give it a thumbs up too, and type in the comments what you're liking about this. My previous comment was, I think beating around the bush comes from a good place. Yes, I agree. DJPL4CX. I agree. Let me stop itching my eye. That if you beat around the bush, I mean, I think a person who beats around the bush has like all of the best intentions, and that's why sometimes the words are so carefully formed that you don't offend people. I totally understand that because that's why I do it as well. I mean that is why I do it. However, sometimes just beating around the bush keeps us from being completely honest with ourselves, right? Because if this is the topic that you want to talk about, and then you keep circling around the topic but you never actually talk about the exact topic, it keeps communication from going deeper. And sometimes we're so careful to offend people, and we shouldn't be, because offensiveness, you can't anticipate somebody's going to get offended off of what you say. You can only say it, and then if you are coming out of the best intentions with what you're saying anyways, and then somebody takes it out of context or misinterprets it or twists your words, then you can only do but so much. Because part of the clear communication is, hey, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. How do you feel about that? And saying that, like, you could say that, and then, or you could say, I would really like for this to happen. It would be great if, you know, sometimes I feel like maybe those words, and even that tone of voice, and I'm also, again, talking to myself, because sometimes that's literally how I talk to other people. So sometimes that tone of voice it literally means you're beating around the bush on something that, if you just talk straight to the point on that topic, you can get to the same destination. I mean, you can get to a better destination. So, okay. The third point is that resentment is a sign that boundaries are missing. If you're having resentment, that comes after the fact that maybe a boundary was put in place at first, it's no longer in place anymore. So, because of that, we're having to suffer the consequences of the emotional labor of resentment. Because if we don't do number one and two, then we could avoid resentment if we be clear and clearly state what we need and what we want, and seek to have respect. Then maybe we can avoid a lot of feelings of resentment. But sometimes we just let things go on for too long, and we let our boundaries slip. We let other people treat us some type of way that we didn't want to be treated in the first place. We let people step over our trust in a way that we didn't intend for them to have stepped over our trust in the first place. And then once it's left untreated, it's just an untreated wound that festers, and that those prolonged feelings of these wounds festering can lead to that feeling of resentment. So in order to, prevent that from, of course, from happening, we want to do number one and number two. And I often see this the most in like friendships, or like long-term friendships or partnerships, where a person, you know, they like all of a sudden they just blow up. Maybe there was a problem that never got resolved, and you know because of that lack in communication, or one lack of communication, or maybe the communication tried to be established but it wasn't efficient, because both people didn't understand each other's boundaries, both people didn't understand each other's wants and needs. So the same slip up keeps happening over and over and over and over again. So it goes, it gets pushed under the rug. Then you have this thing where all of a sudden I'm angry, I'm upset. But it's like I'm upset because there was something little said, or I'm upset because something little, but it's really not that little thing that made the person blow up. It's really years or months of boundaries being put away, and maybe if they were never established in the first place, or they were never said, that can be a huge reason why resentment is there. But also, like, people not sticking to their boundaries and then letting things slide, because we don't want to offend people, also could be a huge reason why. So yeah, again, if you're on the live stream, if you're really enjoying it, give it a thumbs up. And also watch the previous days as well, because, and at this point, if you have any questions, definitely leave them down in the comments below. So let me just really refresh from the past couple of days, because it kind of led up to this topic today. So Monday, the topic was how to start loving yourself more. No, Tuesday, day 10, we talked about how to have better friendships. Wednesday, which was day 11, we talked about how to forgive. And it was during that day, during that live stream, that I thought to do this topic for day 12, which is how to set boundaries. So these topics are starting to overlap and build on each other. I think it's a really good group of videos or live streams to watch, like back to back, or in order, if I'm trying to say that right. Yeah, I think they're a good group of lives to watch in order, not too long. Each one of my live streams is I try to keep it 30 minutes or under. However, day 11, which was yesterday, or day 10, one of those, how to have better friendships, I think that was the one that lasted maybe 50 minutes. So this 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 is day 12 of 28 days of going live. So again, if you've enjoyed being on here with me, thanks for being on here with me. Give this a thumbs up, and go back and watch the previous ones. I'll be on live every single day at different times. So just stay tuned. Make sure you have your notifications on for this channel as well. And also follow me on Instagram, on my Instagram page at The Holistic Flow. And yeah, thanks so much for hanging out with me. All right, y'all. Good night. Peace.